What if I told you Muzan Kibutsuji, the Demon King, was once nothing more than a dying man? Sounds impossible, right? But before his immortality, Muzan's heart beat weakly, crumbling under disease and despair. He wasn't feared then. He was pitied, trapped in a fragile body, slowly surrendering to death's embrace. But therefore, desperation drove him into the shadows, searching for forbidden cures whispered only in hushed tones. Ancient physicians spoke of medicine cursed by gods themselves, rumored to twist life into something unnatural. Muzan didn't care about curses, he only feared death, the silence that mocked him in every heartbeat. Bro, imagine him lying on a cold mat, coughing blood, begging for just one chance to live. The physician's eyes glowed strangely, preparing an elixir brewed with rare lilies touched by moonlit sorcery. Muzan drank, body convulsing, veins bulging, every nerve screaming, life returning, but not in the way he expected. But therefore, his pulse quickened, breath sharpened, strength surged, and eyes glowed crimson, with something more than humanity. He stood, trembling, yet unstoppable. Disease burned away, replaced with hunger that clawed inside like roaring fire. Muzan tore through his home, senses flooded. He could smell blood miles away, taste fear in the air. His transformation wasn't beautiful. It was monstrous, skin tightening, teeth sharpening, his very soul burning with violent rebirth. But therefore, when he realized his strength, he also felt rage, because immortality came chained with eternal thirst. The first man he killed wasn't an enemy. It was the very physician who gave him life. Bro, that moment was terrifying. Gratitude twisted into wrath, blood spilling as Muzan embraced his cursed destiny. His screams shattered silence, echoing through mountains, announcing to the world that something unholy had been born. But therefore, whispers spread quickly. Villages vanished overnight, corpses drained, shadows hunting under moonlight unlike anything ever known. Humanity's nightmare had begun, not by gods, not by demons, but by one man's obsession with outrunning death. And that's the hook, bro. Muzan's first transformation wasn't survival, it was the curse that damned humanity forever. Muzan's crimson eyes reflected the truth. He wasn't cured. He was reborn into something neither man nor beast. He felt immortal yet cursed, carrying within him the hunger of 1,000 deaths whispering inside his veins. Every heartbeat sounded louder, every scent sharper, every shadow alive. His world had expanded beyond mortal comprehension. But therefore, with power came rage, because Muzan realized his transformation made him feared, isolated, and eternally alone. The villagers whispered of a monster in human skin, spreading fear faster than wildfire in dry forests. Muzan discovered his thirst wasn't for water, but blood, the crimson elixir that now fueled his unnatural existence. Bro, imagine that first night, his hands trembling, yet unstoppable, tearing through flesh as screams pierced the dark. He didn't cry, he didn't mourn. Instead, Muzan felt alive for the first time in his fragile existence. But therefore, guilt never touched him, because his humanity had already rotted, leaving only hunger and boundless pride. He experimented with his blood, realizing its strange power, turning humans into twisted demons with a single drop. Some survived, becoming monsters bound to him, while others crumbled into dust, failed creations of his cursed immortality. Muzan laughed for the first time, realizing he wasn't just alive. He was now creator, destroyer, and god. But therefore, power wasn't enough, because deep within, Muzan feared the one truth he could never escape: sunlight. The sun's touch burned him, reducing his immortal flesh to ash, reminding him immortality always comes with cruel shackles. He cursed the heavens, vowing one day to conquer even the light that mocked his eternal night. Bro, imagine that obsession. Centuries of experiments, killings, creations, all chasing one dream: walking under the sun again. His first transformation wasn't victory. It was only the beginning of an endless war against time and light. But therefore, every life he destroyed became his stepping stone, every scream a reminder of his endless hunger. Muzan had cheated death, but in doing so, he had doomed humanity to suffer his eternal nightmare. And that's the untold truth. Muzan's first transformation was not salvation, but the birth of darkness itself. Centuries passed, yet Muzan's shadow only grew darker, stretching across lands, poisoning generations with his cursed legacy. Every demon that walked the earth carried his blood, his will, his hunger, his undying mark of terror. But therefore, Muzan's arrogance deepened, believing himself untouchable, a god destined to rule over mortals and monsters alike. Villages vanished overnight, families torn apart. Every tragedy whispered one name that echoed fear: Muzan Kibutsuji. Bro, imagine living then, every sunset a gamble, every shadow a reminder that demons could strike without warning. Yet, deep inside, Muzan trembled, because despite his power, despite his army, the sun still mocked his reign. The light he could never touch haunted him more than blades, more than hunters, more than death itself. But therefore, his obsession grew, a twisted dream to create the perfect being immune to the sun's wrath. He bred monsters, tested humans, spilled oceans of blood, yet perfection remained out of reach, a cruel, endless chase. His nightmares replayed that first transformation, the curse hidden within his gift, the chain's sunlight forever wrapped around him. Muzan's smile was deception, his strength a mask. Beneath it lived a prisoner desperate for freedom from the sun. Bro, here's the wild part. Every battle, every death, every demon created was only fuel for his obsession. Hunters rose against him, slayers born from vengeance, blades forged in grief, determined to end his eternal night. But therefore, Muzan thrived in conflict, because for every hunter that fell, his darkness spread twice as strong. He wasn't just fighting for dominance. He was fighting against destiny itself, clawing toward a world without sunlight's chains. Imagine centuries of hatred, hunger, and obsession, all because one fragile man refused to accept his mortality. Muzan's first transformation wasn't his triumph. It was humanity's curse, the spark that ignited 1,000 years of blood. Every demon slayer story begins with that night, with one man's desperation turning into eternal damnation. And so the secret remains, Muzan didn't just become immortal, he became the architect of humanity's deepest nightmare. The untold beginning ends here, but the war born from it still rages in every blade drawn against darkness.